choke on them. On who? On America's most scrumptious podcast, The Pod People, of course. I'm your number one bub lover, Matisse Van Rossum.
I'm Sergeant Smoothbrain Ben Sheets.
And I'm Cleveland Mosier, and I'm just waiting for this fucked up dream sequence to be over so I can wake up and remember I'm on a beautiful desert island.
On a beautiful desert island, swarming with the living dead.
Yeah.
Well, we're back. We got Cleve back again after last week's hiatus. You're set up in your new office, new/old office.
As you can see, I have all my friends with me. It's quite wonderful.
They're just out of frame.
Together.
And we're all laughing and smiling. This week, we've got a Patreon pick. This week's film is chosen by our honorary podboy, Mitchell. Shout out, Mitchell. And we are talking about, those watching the video, in case you hadn't guessed, Day of the Dead, the third film in Romero's Dead trilogy. Do we count, is it a trilogy? Do we count Land of the Dead after that? I don't.
I would say that's a second trilogy.
Yeah, there you go.
More after.
I haven't seen it.
Did he do 3 more after that? That's crazy. Anyway, we're only talking about the ones that matter. This was the follow-up to Dawn of the Dead, which we covered several years ago, and surprisingly, we have not covered Night of the Living Dead yet. So we're doing these mad out of order. This came out in 1985. It was the least commercially successful of the Dead trilogy, but has gone on to earn its well-deserved cult status. Oh, man, I forgot how much this movie fucking kicks ass. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's the one of the 3 that I've seen the least. But
yeah, honestly, I feel like I've come around to this movie a lot. I remember when I first saw it, I thought, it was pretty good, but it was definitely my least favorite of the trilogy. But on rewatching it, it might be my favorite.
It's a fair pick. It's a fair pick for a favorite.
I'm basically in the same boat. Yeah, I have a hard time saying that any one of these is my favorite because it's a scenario where my favorite is whichever one I've watched most recently. It's like every time I sit down and watch one, I'm like, yeah, this is the best one for sure. And so I'm coming out of this rewatch, the first rewatch in years for me, thinking like, yeah, you know what? He was cooking on this one. I mean, Romero's always cooking, or was in these days at least. Yeah, this one was really excellent.
If I had to choose personally, I think I'd go with Dawn just because of like the technical aspects of it. In the storytelling, like there's just so much texture to that mall and character. But oh my god, dude, this is a damn near perfect film. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say like the technical aspects of this one are really good too. I mean, this one has the most elaborate and gnarly zombie makeup without really
his best work, honestly.
Yes, I honestly in anything, some of Tom Savini's best work. And I mean, he's always great. And like in, sort of the climax of this movie, I don't think there's any fewer zombies running around than in, some of those mall scenes in Dawn of the Dead. It takes place underground, like in a sort of like underground base. And they shot it inside an actual, a real mine, outside of Pittsburgh, which is pretty cool. They didn't build a set for this. They were actually shooting in a cave. It's a very different setting to the previous 2 films. But, I mean, honestly, for its benefit, that's one of the things I love about these movies is how distinct and unique they all feel. And they're all different settings, all different casts of characters who still kind of like mirror the characters from previous movies, in a George Lucas kind of way. It's like poetry, it rhymes. I think George Romero is the more powerful of the Georges, though, for being.
Yeah, and I feel like this movie, on rewatch, one of the things I really appreciated about it is it feels a little more focused than Dawn of the Dead. I think back to Dawn of the Dead when the bikers just kind of appear in the movie. and that's a big plot point. Where like I feel like all of the players in this movie are established early, and they're all of great importance to the narrative of the film.
Yeah. I mean, Dawn of the Dead definitely like covers more ground in the sense that like it starts out in the city with, you know, Ken Foree and the other dude like raiding the apartment building, and then they get the helicopter and then they fly out to the country and there's the scene there at the gas station, and then they find the mall and they do all the shit at the mall, and then like the bikers come in at the end. It's like, yeah, it feels like it's changing setting and stuff a lot, where like this one feels in that sense more like a return to form with Night of the Living Dead, where it's kind of like centralized, except you've got like this underground military base slash research station slash storage archive out in the middle of nowhere in Florida, where this like last little group of soldiers and some civilian scientists are trying to hold their shit together, sort of aimlessly though, like not being in contact with anybody. The military guys can't get orders from outside. The scientists don't know if like, you know, Washington like is even still like up and running. It's like they don't know if they're the last people left on Earth. I like that sort of like isolating element of this one.
Me too.
I
Me
like
too.
how there's sort of a thematic progression between the three movies. Like the first one especially is mostly about what happens when it starts, right?
Right.
You know, there's an outbreak. And the second one's really about like what do zombies mean in a way, right? What are zombies about?
And most of its focus is in the middle. Too.
Yeah, and this
Like,
one is kind of about what now, right? Like,
Right.
the zombie outbreak has happened, and how does society respond to it? And you get a lot of perspectives throughout the movie, and I like how all of like the character groups have their own approach to that question.
Or really their lack of approach, sort of just like going through the motions because they don't know what else to do, but not knowing if there's even anybody left alive in the world other than them. Is there any point in what they're still doing? But just keep doing it because what else are you going to do, right?
Right. I really appreciate the confidence of this film and that it starts in the middle of these characters' stories and their journeys as well. Like the outbreak from the jump has been happening for a long period of time. Of directors, I think Romero has some of my favorite dream sequences, and most of them are in this movie. Like, it's like Romero, Cronenberg, Villeneuve does really good dream sequences. Like there's some like wonderful stuff like throughout any of those directors' careers. But like here, it works so perfectly. I love like the opening shot with the like Sarah. She's just looking in like her empty plain white room at the calendar on her wall, which is a wonderful, like, you know, like very simple, like representation of the passage of time. And as she walks up to it, all those zombie hands just come out of the wall at her, and just showing that as like this force of nature that has taken over her life. It's just so stark and so vivid. And following up through the sequence where they fly out and they take a helicopter trip out into the city to see if there's any survivors in the nearest metropolitan area, and we still feel like she hasn't woken up. Like it's so dreamy and ethereal. Those wonderful like echoey synths playing out as what is it, Bill? I think on the loudspeaker just saying "Hello, is anyone there? Hello, is anyone there?" over and over, as just to empty streets in Florida as zombies slowly appear. It's so fucking dreamy. I love that opener, man. It's incredible.
The first
pacing,
time,
it's basically a music video. Like it, yeah, God.
The first time I saw this movie, when I saw that scene with Miguel as the character's name, where he's out with the megaphone, he's like, "Hello, is anybody there? Hello." It like blew my mind because I knew that audio sample from listening to the Gorillaz as a kid. Their self-titled album on one of the songs uses that whole sample of him just being like, "Hello, hello. It's like a very weird sort of distinct audio sample. And when I saw this movie for the first time, I was like, oh shit, that's where David Albarn got that sample from. Really good shit.
It's already so musical, like in
Yeah.
context.
Yeah, I can see why an artist would be attracted to using it as a sample for a song. I like that whole scene too. Like I love the alligator coming out of the steps of the courthouse. Like as they're like we get all these shots of like these empty sort of trashed streets in this town in Florida. I think they shot in Fort Myers, I think. And it's like, yeah, there's just like a shot of just like City Hall, like up the steps of like the big Corinthian columns, and there's just an alligator posted, like coming out of the door. And then, like, as he calls more and more, like the zombies start to wake up and they start to be attracted. And we go back to the alligator, and the alligator sort of like comes out down the steps because there's zombies coming out behind him. I love that. I love that they got an actual alligator for that stuff. And I mean that.
I wonder if
that,
like
the
any of the
first-
zombies behind him were like like the handlers.
the handlers, maybe
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
That first shot we see of a zombie in this movie is fucking phenomenal. That low shot, sort of like set against the sun, and just like its whole lower jaw is missing, and like the tongue is still lolling out. That really felt like Tom Savini kind of like whipping his dick out and putting it on the table a little bit, for this movie.
It further reestablishes the themes without a need for dialogue. Like we're literally seeing the passage of time on these zombies. They're falling apart. Like clearly this is not the beginning of the outbreak. This is very near the end. And yeah, again, without having to say a word. Like it's so fucking confident. Like I really love that. I could gush about that opening sequence endlessly.
Yeah, I mean it's great, and just like seeing the scale of everything and all the zombies that start coming towards them in the helicopter, and they have to bail out and
Nice
go
pun.
back to
Scale.
They have to go back to the military base or whatever, and then we sort of establish the rest of our cast of characters and sort of get a sense of the bubbling tensions between the civilian scientists and the military guys who are like really devoid of purpose. Like
they're really from the jump make all of the military dudes extremely unlikable.
Yes, extremely fucking scuzzy.
I like you framed that too, because they really are like dogs without a bone or anything. Like they're just chomping for anything, and it's great. Yeah, it really puts the tension like front and foremost that people are going to be the problem here, like so often.
Right, which is like a cliche in these zombie movies, and is always sort of like a big part of Romero's zombie movies. In fairness, but I think that this movie is one of the best instances of that. In sort of like the people being the monsters kind of thing, but it also feels real, that it feels like it's driven by a sense of frustration and fear and desperation, and less of what you see in stuff like The Walking Dead, where it's like people use the apocalypse as an excuse to be psychopathic.
It's less about like the interpersonal drama, and it's more about the institution. Like it's their collapsing system is what is sort of causing these characters to collapse as well, whether it's the soldiers or like the scientists. Like it's sort of falling apart in the same ways. Whereas too, like with our some of our most likable characters, like the radio guy and the helicopter pilot, like their biggest problems are just that their equipment is old and falling apart. Nothing is built for this system. It's essentially we're seeing something that is doomed to fail from the beginning, and we're coming in halfway as all these characters are already coming to those conclusions themselves. And they're all handling it very differently, and not really any of them are handling it well.
Right. Well, the scientists are all kind of like focused on trying to just research. Like, no, they don't even really know exactly what their goal is, or they have different stated goals. You know, like Sarah has this kind of naive hope that she's going to be able to find a way to like reverse the process, whereas like the like main scientist, Dr. Logan, is like, no, I'm going to figure out how to train them so that they won't domesticate them, basically domesticate the zombies so they won't eat us, you know. And and I think that, like, while it's never explicitly stated in the movie, like the idea of like domesticating zombies, I think does have some like further reaching implications as well. It's like, what do you do with these domesticated creatures, right? Like you're not
in a way.
Right, it's like they're not food. Like, you can't eat them. They're not domesticated like cows. Like, what do you get? You're gonna train them to do labor, right? Like, you're basically going to create undead slave labor. And again, this is something that's never stated as a goal in the movie, but I like the idea as sort of like the implications that it sets up. But it's like, you've got them, and then you've got the military. They've lost their like main commanding officer, who was sort of like above this whole thing. The major, he has died. A new captain has stepped into the commanding role. He doesn't know what the fuck he's supposed to be doing. They can't get in touch with higher command. The scientists are showing them no results. They're running out of food. They're running out of ammunition. Their men keep dying. They're trying to like wrangle zombies for these experiments, and they're fucking antsy. They're on edge. They don't know what to be doing with themselves. They are like, you know, a snake with its head cut off. But, you know, if you cut off a rattlesnake's head, the head can still bite you if you're not careful.
And
it's
I
like,
really
that's
love
what we see happen in this movie. Like,
from the moment the helicopter lands, you can see that this group has established a number of protective systems, and almost all of them are starting to fail. It starts with the fence, just on the borderline. It's like, oh, there's more and more every day. You can see them, like, the fence is just kind of giving. Like, as the zombies are, like, all pressing against it. So they make a point to hurry downstairs. During this whole time, Miguel, like, is showing signs of fatigue and anxiety. He's just basically just being an absolute piece of shit. Which is great. He's a great element of contrast against these other characters. Just by Miguel being on screen, he makes the other characters more likable. And then immediately we're introduced to, before they can get back to everybody else, more work needs doing. There's a call from downstairs that the doctor wants some more zombies to do research on. So we're introduced to two of the first soldiers who are out on a mission there, and they ask for Miguel as well. Sarah says he's fatigued. He's been up for 24 hours. He needs rest. And they're like, nope, we have to do this thing. It's got to get done. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll go with you then. But this is a bad idea. And when they go to gather the zombies, inevitably that also falls apart. And not just the people, but also the process. Like well, I actually said that's later on with the strap break.
Yeah, it's later when the thing breaks. But
he just lets go of it because he falls asleep. That's right.
I do like that mechanism for, you know, bringing in zombies, you know, in limited supplies.
Yeah. The little, it's basically a corral that they have set up in the cave, where they've set up like a wall with like a little, like a raised partition on it, so that they can sort of lure the zombies over, then catch them with long poles and straps around their necks and like herd them into a little corral to pull them out with two gates that close on the other side. Basically exactly the way you handle livestock. I love that they have that set up.
Well, I mean, Romero understands the way to actually like utilize like the other metaphor with a zombie, right? Like most films just exercise it as like, oh yeah, it's an other I can kill without like feeling like I'm a fucking monster, right? But like these films are used as commentary to talk about othering, to talk about how people can be like treated differently and the rest. And like I think like explaining it like cattle is really important here. Like they're handling them like cattle for research. Like you mentioned, Ben, like the doctor is like thinking about how he can use them for labor. They're people that are being used for these, like, you know, even though they're zombies, there's still something very wrong about that, right? Like, and it's one thing when people are just running down streets shooting like zombies, but it's another thing when like you have to really sit down and process like the mechanics of how they're handling all of this, and it feels even almost more wrong in a way.
I gotta say, you know, looking at the Doctor and his approach to it, trying to domesticate them and turn them into labor like we were talking about. I love how that's introduced, where he greets Sarah when she goes down to the lab and shows off his experiments. And it's essentially, zombies that are destroyed utterly, basically, but still have the instinct to feed.
I love the one that's on the table. That we find out is the Major. Like, he swapped the bodies because he just can't help being a freak. There's like the chest, and then like from the neck all the way to the top of the spine, like everything's been removed except the spine, and it's just like like on the table. It's so nasty, and like the little spine,
and just like a little piece of the brain basically is like he's isolated the thing that powers them to basically like what he describes as like our reptile brain. It's like our basest, simplest instincts, devoid of everything else. And it's like that's what motivates them. He's got the one where it's like he's disconnected the brain from like all of its other organs, but it's still trying to eat even if it doesn't have a stomach anymore. I like the part where it like rolls over and like all of its guts fall out onto the floor. And then later Sarah has a dream where she sees Miguel like on his cot and he rolls over and all of his guts fall out onto the floor in the same way.
I like the juxtaposition of the Doctor with the army guys, because the army guys again are way more on their face abrasive, but then you see the experiments of the Doctor, and while he's nicer, he's also just as unhinged in a different way.
He's one of my favorite performances in this movie. I'll look up that actor's name. I always forget.
While you're looking it up, I want to touch on what you said, Tease, about like how Sarah sees her lover roll over and like his guts spill out the same way as the zombie. I think it's sort of further reinforcing that theme I was sort of touching on earlier with how Miller's essentially trying to get us to stop and say like, hey, they're still kind of people. Like the othering is just a bad idea. Like from the beginning, like you need to break that mentality. Like even like with zombies, you need to like kind of like reconsider like how you think about these things. I don't mean like have sympathy, like they're the fucking Walking Dead, but like like reconsider like just like again like why it's our insistence to immediately jump to like shoot and kill,
but even so, I still feel like Dr. Logan, who's played by Richard Liberty, is the actor, even he considers them more human than like the military does. Like all the military guys are just like they don't think that there's a speck of humanity left in these things. Like they're just for killing. They don't think that it's worthwhile like keeping them and doing research on them and stuff like that. And it's like what Dr. Logan is doing in his experiments is like horrific, and he's like definitely kind of unstable, but at the same time he does display a sense of kind of like tenderness and affection and kindness towards Bub, his prize zombie. And in fairness, his favorite, and in fairness, it is more akin to the tenderness and kindness that you show to a pet than to another human being. But still, I love Dr. Logan. I love Richard Liberty's performance because it really reminds me a lot of Jeffrey Combs in Reanimator, which the movies came out the same year, so it seems unlikely that there would have been any sort of inspirational crossover there.
Well, I
there
think
were
the
a few times where I just straight up
is Frankenstein, right?
Frankenstein. Well, yeah, I mean, they do explicitly like keep calling Dr. Logan Frankenstein in this movie, and like you do see that parallel with him and Bub as kind of like a Frankenstein's monster. And I do think that there are sort of some Boris Karloff like kind of qualities to Sherman Howard's performance as Bub.
There were a few times where I just closed my eyes and listened to Dr. Logan's voice, and I was just like, that's Jeffrey Combs. Like, it's crazy. It's almost like he dubbed him. Such like distinctively similar actors as well. They don't look very similar, but like, man, they sound like so. Like again, if it was removed out of context and you just played his voice, I would just tell you it was Jeffrey Combs.
He's got similar kind of like twitchiness to him too, and kind of like barely restrained mania. Like I think Jeffrey Combs lays it on a little bit heavier, because Reanimator in tone is a little bit campier than this is, but like yeah, it is kind of wild to think that these movies came out the same year, because if Day of the Dead had come out even a year after, I would have said the actor was just doing Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West.
What I will say too about the Bub relation that I really liked, there's a small narrative note that he named Bub because that's what they called his surgeon dad at the country club. That is such a great hint as to like the sort of the realm of class that he that Dr. Logan grew up, in. It's like, oh, he grew up like country clubs, going to like fancy stuff like that. He probably had like a mammy figure in his life or something, like, like a house servant or something like fucked up. And I think that that's sort of the same way that he treats Bub. You were saying like a pet or something like that. I think it's very similar, like that class division there. And it's gross. It's fucking it skeezes me out like so bad.
And yet
but that is sort of like the dynamic I get with Bub.
He does kind of talk about the disdain that he had for like his family's wealth growing up, and like how his dad told him that he would never like make money being in research, that the money is in like, being a surgeon or something like that, but that he felt, a higher calling to like, discover something or like learn things or whatever. And that's sort of like the science is sort of like his driving motivation, which doesn't say to like redeem him or anything. There are plenty of fucking mad scientists in real life and characters who are, driven by their research, but do really horrible things because of it, in pursuit of it even.
Oh yeah.
Well, I like how we've been talking about the doctor wanting to essentially domesticate again, and the soldiers thinking the solution is to fight their way out ultimately. And I think
just bail, just get out.
Yeah, there's a third way that's proposed by the pilot and the mechanic in a way, in their sort of tropical getaway in the middle of this bunker, and that's
correct way. Let's be real, like they haven't figured out like from the beginning.
Honestly, it's the best answer. It's throw away the past and all of the baggage that comes with it, and just start fresh
and just chill.
Their systems are falling apart. It's clearly not working. It's only it's only a matter of time until like everything goes wrong. Yeah, at that point you bail. You fend for yourself, because yourself is all that's left at that point. You just got a small group of people together.
I want to talk about that scene because I think that
there's lots.
It's a really highlight scene of the movie for me. A much needed sort of like warmth, and a moment of kind of comfort, but also melancholy, where essentially Sarah gets sort of fed up with the constant like fighting back and forth between the scientists and the soldiers, and so she goes to hang out with the pilot and the electrician. John is the pilot, and who is the other guy? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Bill. Yeah, I think you're right. Bill.
Bill's radio.
Yeah, Bill's the radio guy. And John Bill. Is the pilot. Yeah. And so she goes to sort of hang out with them, where they have like removed themselves from sort of the rest of the facility where everybody else is and all the constant fighting is going on. And they've got themselves set up this nice little like double wide trailer off in their own little corner of the cave. And they've set up a little sort of like faux tropical like sitting area in the back. They've got like a big like poster or wallpaper of like palm trees, and they've got like lounge chairs out there and like some beach umbrellas and stuff, and basically just like trying to make their own make it as comfortable as they can considering the situation, bring a little bit of humanity to the whole thing. And so she goes out there to drink with them, and she gets into this sort of like long philosophical discussion with John the pilot, where, like you said, Ben, he basically tells her it's like the third way is to just like forget the past and start fresh. And the sort of like example that he uses for that is this old cave, this facility where they've set up their base, is like a sort of like old storage, like historical storage facility. Like it's full of like a bunch of old cars, it's full of a bunch of documents. He says like it's got like the negatives of all of your favorite films, like all of these records of like all natural disasters and stuff that have happened, just like boxes upon boxes of just like basically history of what is now the old world. And he's basically like, and look, and like what has become of it? It's just sitting here moldering in the dark, essentially. And why are we trying to hold on to it and preserve it? Let's just let it go, you know? Let's fucking go off to a desert island and fucking Bing Chiling, you know? And he's right.
Well, that's the thing. Like, again, like this movie is proposing multiple avenues for what now, just the central theme. And again, like their idea, while it is, you know, a bit defeatist almost, it's almost the most optimistic in a way, because it's like, yeah, it's over, you know, but it gives us a chance at the same time to start fresh, you know? Why not? There's nothing else.
Yeah, well, because I mean, what everybody else is doing is like Sisyphean, you know? They're trying to fucking endlessly push a rock up a hill that keeps rolling back down. They're not getting anywhere. They're not making any sort of progress. And like, if they do succeed in like domesticating the zombies or whatever, what does the future of the world look like? Why are we trying to preserve the old order at all? You know? And yeah, it does. It's like, it is, yeah, like you said, it's kind of defeatist, but also the most optimistic sort of view of the whole thing.
Yeah, and to think about this in like a political aspect, the movie came out in the middle of the Reagan era, right? Like the idea of the future of America being either imperial conquest or, you know, fighting to kind of enhance America. I think the third way, again, in that respect, is the most compelling, right? Like, just throw the baggage of our terrible colonial past and just kind of start fresh.
Throw it all away and start over. And well, we see that the country definitely didn't do that, because now we're seeing 40 years later what the decades of post-Reagan and everybody who's followed him have done to the country in the effort to preserve the old world order of the American empire, when in the East, the dragon rises. Anyway.
Any chance you're gonna fucking pull that shit? You're gonna pull your fucking President Xi fucking I'm ready shit. You fucking goober.
Press the button. I'm ready.
Honestly,
let's throw it all away. Let's throw all. Let's throw
ready
all.
to Bing Chiling.
Look, man.
Yeah,
hey, look, I don't care who's in charge, as long as I could like fucking take a helicopter to a private island and have a little like summer shandy while I fish.
I'm ready for John Cena to teach me Mandarin. That's all I'm saying. I'm ready to go Bing Chiling on an island, and not have to think about the United States of America anymore.
I'll put so much Laugan Ma on my ice cream.
Oh, dude. Oh, you put it on your ice cream? Interesting.
Bing Chiling.
That's not Bing Chiling.
Yeah,
no, it's
Bing
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are different videos.
Yeah.
Bing Chiling is not putting Laugan Ma on ice cream.
Yeah. Like like chili crisp, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good though. It's
it is
good.
good. But like, oh, ice cream,
That would be Bing Chili, not Bing Chilling.
being chili.
Bing Chili Crisp.
All right, we have very beautifully digressed.
Algon Bing Ma.
Yeah. So, oh, another thing I like towards the beginning when they're trying to get the samples and it all the the test subject zombies, and it falls apart because, as Sarah predicts from the beginning, you know, Miguel is falling asleep standing. He shouldn't be doing labor. He falls asleep standing, and one of the zombies gets loose, but they grab it again, and it's fine. But the soldiers are obviously not happy about that. I like that. What this does for Sarah in that moment is it makes her very clearly and presently the hero just through good action. In the same way that I think Sigourney Weaver's character, or Ripley, does in Alien when she tries to maintain quarantine. I think it's kind of very similarly structured how that sequence plays out. What I really like is contextually, we just see her making the right choice there, and the soldiers write her off, and we assume they're writing her off because she's a woman, you know, or she's one of the scientists, she's not one of them, which is true. They are writing her off.
All of the above is true.
All of the above is true, but there's another reason they're writing her decision off there, and we don't find that out until 2 scenes later, where it's revealed that Miguel is also her boyfriend. And that there's a lot of like gross like envy like happening in the room, and that the soldiers wrote it off because like, no, you're just trying to like look out for your boyfriend, you're just playing favorites, and that's what they were really saying there without saying it, but we didn't hear that part, and I like that. I like that like kind of bit of a like context where she's still the hero, she still made the right choice, but we kind of understand better why the soldiers made that call, even though they're still wrong to do it for all the other reasons. And we can get in their heads, like we don't know, maybe they were just being that, because they do prove to be later on anyway.
Oh yeah, it's like the soldiers are definitely all scuzzy, but what I also do sort of think is interesting about her relationship with Miguel is that it does seem, at least at this point where they're at, it does sort of seem like the soldiers are right, and it is just kind of a relationship of like convenient sexual attraction in the apocalypse. Like, it doesn't feel like they have much actual affection for each other, at least not that we see. And like at this point that we see Miguel, like he is on the verge of a nervous breakdown, which, you know, does happen at the end of the movie. So, but it's like they do fight, you know, a lot in this part, and
I'll tell you how I see it is, once again, we're coming in midway, and much like how all their structures and systems are failing, so is their relationship.
Yeah, that's I think that for sure. I think that, I mean, it's definitely that no matter what. But I also do kind of get the feeling that it's like, you know,
from the outgo, it was doomed to fail.
It's just trying to find some like physical comfort and release through like intimacy with another person in the midst of like the apocalypse, right? Like, I don't think that they were like they're all like lovey-dovey and shit. It's just they thought that the other was attractive and they've paired up, you know, to try to make the best of a bad situation. And like, yeah, you're right. The rest of the soldiers are envious of that because, you know, they have to just fucking jerk off instead, and they're
it's never said, and I love that it isn't said, because like it's just sort of hanging over the movie is like this really nasty undercurrent that's unspoken, that like she is possibly the last woman on Earth, and all of the like really gross like responsibilities that come with that, you know, and like they never say it outright. They come close a couple of times, like it's like even like John at one point like kind of like he says like, hey, look,
John says it. He says you and me could, it's like you and me could like make some babies. Like, he says that explicitly. I mean, he's kind of joking, and he's, you know, he's lighthearted and friendly about it.
It, really.
and she, you know, she kind of smirks and like laughs it off. But it's like, yeah, even he is like, he's thinking about it. It's like, yeah, for like, as far as anybody in this movie is concerned, as far as we're concerned, in the context of this movie, she is the last woman on Earth, you know?
I think that if she wants to enjoy the rest of her life celibate on an island drinking and, you know, like, or whatever, good. You like let humanity. I don't know. I can't speculate for the character or whatever. Like I think that probably her and John probably do like end up like having kids or whatever. I don't know. Like I did get a sense of chemistry by the end. But
what about Bill? What about Bill?
Yeah.
What about
Hey,
Bill? Where's he? Where's he fit in this mix?
It's a new dawn for humanity. We could, it's a new dawn for polyamorous relationships or whatever.
I was gonna say, does Bill get to get in on that too? Does he get some of that?
That's up to them, I'm a consent.
They're rebuilding society.
Whoever's down is down. But I just like all of it. I like the.
I think there's an undercurrent of misogyny to the envy of the soldiers.
Yeah,
and paired with the kind of trying to desperately figure out what the power structure is, like it is kind of a powder keg in this movie. One of my favorite scenes is when Rhodes, the new captain, is trying to assert authority over situations, and Sarah's dismissing him and going her own way. At one point, he pulls a gun and demands that one of his soldiers shoots her, essentially, if she doesn't sit down and do what he says. And I love that scene. I think it's one of the strongest scenes in the movie, honestly, because you get some of the psychology of Rhodes in that, like, he's not brave enough to do the action himself. He has to order someone else to do it, and part of that is a power thing in and of itself as well. It's the idea of, in order to feel like he's in control, he has to control others rather than directly controlling the situation.
Well, it's great because the scene starts with Rhodes appearing like a complete and utter psychopath, and he is a terrible person, and he doesn't know what he's doing. But by the end of the scene, we understand him so much better, right? I think his motive becomes so clear because this scene, like by the time the scene ends, that's where like they put the bow on it and it is explicit to everyone. This is falling apart. It's not working anymore. We have to figure something else out. But the scene starts where like there's still a chance, there's still something, but Rhodes knows. But he doesn't say it immediately. But like Rhodes understands that this is falling apart. These people are all falling apart, and he needs to like establish like a clear sense of order and dominance like in this situation to have any amount of control over it. I don't think that's correct either, and his methodology certainly isn't, but I understand it. Like I get why like he points a gun at one of his own men and forces her to point a gun forces them to point a gun at Sarah. Because like what he's doing is first off, he's establishing like a sense of hierarchy in his men, and like he's cutting the wheat from the chaff. It's essentially a verbal culling. Like he's making sure that these people will kill for him.
Yeah.
Like period on his orders. So I see it less as like him being too cowardly. Like we see him just straight up shoot someone later on. It's less about him being cowardly, and it's more about like him establishing like a very fucked up chain of tyranny. And I like that his sense of tyranny isn't necessarily motivated through power. Like I don't think he ever wanted to be in this position, but it's the only way he knows how to hold on to it. And it's that desperation, and it's always like in his flared eyes, that makes him like, again, like such a fucking amazingly nuanced character. Like he's not just an evil army captain guy, like because he's that. Like he's a guy who's also in the situation, and when situations fall apart in a military structure, they lean towards fascism, so he goes full fascist, and it works so great for it, man. Like
I love how right after that scene they talk about the transactional element of it, where like he looks at the other people in the base as how much utility they have to them, and responds to them based on that. Like they say like the pilot will never be under threat because they need him to get out. The doctor, right. He's probably okay because he's a doctor at the end of the day and can help out if needed.
He knows how to talk. He knows how to talk Rhodes into submission. Dr. Logan does. He's the only one who can sort of like make Rhodes bite his own tongue, Yeah. So there's that kind of like power struggle as well. But yeah, then at the point it's like Sarah, it's like, look, he might shoot you. It's like he's like he cares about what Logan's doing, and like Logan can sort of like bring him to heel, but like the rest of you people, it's like you're disposable to Rhodes. I love I first of all, just shout out the actor who plays Rhodes, Joseph Pilato. Fucking effortless, incredible performance in this. He was one of the extra cops in Dawn of the Dead in the apartment raid scene. So he had worked with Romero before, and apparently Romero offered him the part almost immediately when he walked in for casting. And honestly, like, kudos to Romero, because he looked at him and he knew. And he was right. He looked at him. He's like, this guy has the sauce for this part, and he's so fucking right. And a little thing that I really fucking love is like the introduction to Rhodes' character when they first come back. It's like a scene or two before the scene we're talking about. It's set in the same like cafeteria space or whatever, but it's like it's when we first get Rhodes, and we see there's like a little bit of tension. He seems kind of like an asshole, but it's like we don't fully have like a grasp of him yet. And then at the end of the scene, he takes off his jacket, and we see that he's got like fucking cowboy revolvers in like twin shoulder holsters and an extra bandolier of rounds across his chest, and you're just like, oh, he's that kind of guy. He thinks he's a fucking cowboy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such just like a nice little visual sort of flourish to have him at the end of the scene just take off the jacket and reveal the guns. And it's like, okay, now it's like, okay, now I understand this character a little bit better. And then after this scene that we've just been talking about, it's like, okay, I understand this character fully, and like what kind of nutcase he is, and how on edge he is, and how precarious this whole situation is.
And it's just so hard to separate the actor from the role too, for me. Like, it's so well performed. I see his face and I hate him. Like, it's just, like,
oh yeah,
it's so perfect for it. Like, one of the best, I think, like, like one of the most common, tropes for like violent horror films to do is to set up like unlikable characters so you're excited to see them die. And it's hard for me to think of movies that do it as well as this one. Like, it's one of the best for it.
Man,
again,
honestly,
they're
Romero
so
in
well-rounded
general.
too. Yeah.
Romero in general, because we were just talking about we watched we did watch Martin, but we also watched Monkey Shines in movie night last night in the Discord, and we were talking about that. It's just like how good he is at setting up these absolutely fucking despicable characters, so you just cannot fucking wait to see the psychic monkey kill them, And I think
he's a student of EC Comics too, right? Like all those stories are morality tales where bastards get a comeuppance. And right. So, like, he understands it so well. I mean, Creepshow is a love letter to that alone. And that movie is also full of bastards that get great comeuppance. Like, it's just, he's a fucking master of it.
Friends with Stephen King, who does that really well in a lot of his books, too. King writes really good, hateable villains. Nice little nod in this movie when Dr. Logan is sort of, like, showing Bub like different things to try to get him to interact with them, and one of the things he gives him is a book, and it's a copy of Salem's Lot. I love that scene where Bub, I love Bub so much. Bub is my favorite. Yeah. But that scene where he picks up the book and he's just like, it's like looking at it. He's not reading it, but it's like you can tell he kind of something in that lizard brain like remembers being human. I like when they gives him the razor too, and he just sort of like instinctively like starts rubbing it against his cheek like he's shaving, but like little bits of dead skin are coming off because he's a zombie. I love Bub.
Yeah, Bub is kind of the real star of this film.
Bub, and so much of it is the performance too.
Bub is the heart of this film, which is kind of wild to think about, that like what really feels like the emotional center of this movie of a movie about the zombie apocalypse like is a zombie. But like, yeah, man, I love Bub. I support Bub. I root for Bub. And I'm happy to see Bub triumph at the end of this movie. If you're watching the video, you see Bub saluting in the GIF behind me, and I salute Bub.
We all salute Bub. Yeah.
We all salute Bub. That part is great when Rhodes and like some of the soldiers come in to sort of confront Dr. Logan, because Logan is like hiding the fact that he's trying to like domesticate the zombies from
And
the soldiers and other things. So that's another part of the tension with the soldiers and Rhodes, is because they don't know what the actual research the scientists are doing is, so they have no idea what kind of progress they're making, so it really is just like them spinning their wheels. But when they come in and confront him, like as he's sort of like showing Sarah like Bub's progress and Bub's sort of like rehumanization a little bit, and Rhodes and all the soldiers walk in, and Bub immediately like sees their uniforms and like salutes, and they're like, oh, he must have been ex-military before he died. Try to salute him back and see what happens. And Rhodes like, I'm not gonna salute him. It's like, it's a zombie, you know. Basically, it's just a walking corpse. And so Logan walks up.
Not just a walking corpse, but the enemy, right? Like,
the enemy.
All of the soldiers refer to the zombies as like the enemy, the way that any soldier would refer to like the whatever like nation they're warring against. You know, like they have names for them. They like essentially like slurs and whatnot. Like they treat zombies essentially like, you know, like, the only good zombie is a dead zombie, you know, kind of shit. So like, of course, like his reaction is like, no, fuck no, I'm not going to do that.
That's how the soldiers do see them. They dehumanize them the same way that soldiers always dehumanize enemies, which reminds me of did y'all see the World War Z movie?
Like, dodge that bullet.
No.
Sucks. I saw it in theaters. It's terrible, but I'm sure you've seen the part that was in the trailers where the zombies are like throwing themselves against the wall and basically building like a human pyramid to like climb over the wall. You know where that scene takes place in the movie, right?
I do. Another reason I haven't seen it.
It's Israel.
Yeah, it's really a gross metaphor there. Talk about othering, right? Like, yeah,
dude, yeah.
Holy shit!
I will say, going back to the bit where, you know, he tries to get Rhodes to salute Bub, I feel like that's kind of a turning point for Rhodes on the whole Bub experiment.
Yeah.
Where, you know...
Well, it's because when he realizes, like, this is what you've been doing. You're down here, like, we're losing our men. We're running out of ammunition. We're risking our lives corralling these creatures so you can fucking teach them to read and to listen to music and shit. It's like, this is what you're doing down here.
And he's right to be angry. Like, in every way.
A little bit. Yeah. Well, I mean, what really sets everything off later is when he discovers that Logan is rewarding Bub, because he has to, you know, positive reinforcement, Pavlovian responses, you know, when he does something good, you got to reward him. And he's been rewarding him with meat from like the dead soldiers that he has sort of like smuggled into the freezer, that he's like chopping them up and feeding them to Bub. And like that's what like really sets the whole sets the powder keg off at the end. It's been building up to this when, you know, Rhodes just fucking unloads on Logan and fucking blows him away.
Something I wanted to kind of touch on while we're talking about Bub is Logan sees Bub as like his special pet and his opportunity to kind of reinforce these aspects in other zombies. And I think that his ultimate sin, his ultimate failure, is just not recognizing that Bub is special. like Bub's just a special little boy. Like, you can't replicate Bub. You can't, like, you know, turn the other zombies into Bub. Like, only Bub can be Bub. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's my read on it. I don't think that's like the read, but like that's how I buy Bub. Like, I think that's like, yeah, Logan's like dumbest part is like, oh, I can do this with other zombies. Like, you can't. It's just Bub. His brain rotted a certain way. That's it. Like,
Bub is like he's like zombie Jesus, basically, is what you're saying. He's like
not even basically, yeah. He is the risen undead Christ in my eyes.
That's not how I read it at all, to be honest.
Me either, but I kind of like
it
it.
was just something where like they had, he took a lot of time to get Bub where he is now.
Yeah, he's at I mean, I think that is the like read of the movie, is that like Bub is just the project that he's been working on the longest. But I do kind of like your alternate read of Bub as Zombie Christ.
I was doing that more for a bit, but just that Bub is like not like special in the sense of like ordained, but like in the sense of he's that smart, like he's able to like remember his previous life and the rest because again his brain just happened to
It's a fluke.
Is a fluke. Yeah, Bub is a fluke. You're not gonna get all the other zombies to ever be like Bub, no matter how many resources or whatever you have. Like that's just not how that works.
Well, that's ultimately the thing, though, right? Like, he doesn't have that many resources. Logan has all the time to train Bub, but to expand this program beyond Bub, like,
yeah, what are you gonna do?
Really doesn't have any resources to do that. So ultimately, it is really futile, even if Bub isn't special.
Yeah.
Like, how are they gonna train a dozen more Bubs with the army soldiers and Logan and Sarah? Like,
even more than a dozen. How are you going to train the millions of zombies that roam the earth, right?
Yeah,
the
Logan
billions.
says at one point that it's like 400,000 zombies to one human, most likely. So
probably undercutting
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And it's like, so it's like, how, even if you do figure out a way to like train them like dogs, how are you going to train that many? It's like, it's like, what is the ultimate goal here? And I don't think Logan really knows either. I think ultimately he's just kind of stroking his own ego, right? It's just like
part of the same system that's just wasting everything else, right? Like to me, I see it once again like a country club, right? It feels grand, like it feels like they're doing something great and incredible, but really it's just a bunch of rich dudes out playing golf, ruining the environment, and like on the backs of a lot of like service workers. Like it's a shitty system and it's stupid.
Like tech industry.
And the people, like any institute, like most institutions, I wouldn't say any, but most. And once again, like it's really cool commentary on like how the problem isn't just people, but it's also those systems. It's both of these things, both with the zombies and with everything that's going on. This lab is just, it's aimless because people don't know what they're fucking doing, and people are dying because of it. And
damn, it's almost like the system itself is a zombie. That it's dead, but it's still carrying out its instinctual functions because it doesn't realize that it's dead yet.
Hey, you know what? Pretentious, but not wrong.
Not wrong. And I think that's I think that is kind of like explicit in the text. Like I think that is like absolutely what Romero is going for thematically in this movie. Is that like all the characters are zombies in a sense. Like they are aimless and they're just acting on instinct. It's just we're seeing what each group's instincts are. The scientists' instincts are to just research because and the soldiers' instincts are to soldier because, even if they're cut off from all of their other organs, from their chain of command or whatever, there's the appetite must be fed,
This whole endeavor at the mine, like at this great lab at the end of human history, like this whole thing could have been an email. Didn't have to have the meeting. We all could have been on a fucking private island this whole time.
Could have been a fucking email, man.
Could have been an email.
We did not need to hop on a call for this.
No. Well, we did. We did.
Yeah,
our endeavor is good and sacred. What we do, our institution, one of the good ones. Okay, I'll have it be said right now.
Yeah, absolutely not just spinning its wheels, not realizing that it's dead yet. Definitely not.
No, and you know why it isn't that? Because essentially this podcast is us just on the island. Like
that's true.
We figured this shit out. This is our little spot. This is our special place. We're not trying to break the system and get a billion views. We're trying to get together with the homies, drink a few beers, and watch movies. That's the whole reason we're here. And the minute it's not about that anymore, I'm not here anymore.
We're Bing Chilling. Yeah, we're Bing Chilling on our little island. Yeah.
That's,
yeah.
that's it's all it's love all the way down, boys.
What do we still need to cover? I guess the ending. Do we have anything we need to talk about before then?
I mean, yeah, to me, like, I just want to pick at like how cool one or two sequences are, but I don't. Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
everything. But in terms of plot, like everything unravels, and the characters have to get out of there, and people die in sequence. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Rhodes kills Logan, and the John and Bill and Sarah are gonna try to get to the helicopter, but they end up getting caught. And then Miguel finally has his mental breakdown, and he goes upstairs. Takes the elevator up, goes to the gate, lets a bunch of zombies in, lures them onto the big platform, and commits suicide by zombie, allowing them to devour him, and in his last act, pressing the button to bring the whole horde of zombies down into the base. And full bedlam breaks loose. One little thing that I want to mention, because it makes me giggle every single time it happens, is that a few times there will be like wide shots or something of like a part of the cave, and like a little puppet bat will go flapping across the screen. And they do it multiple times, and it's always just one bat, and I figure it must just be the same bat prop over and over again. And so at some of the points when they're running around the caves at the end, like at one point the bat like flies past Sarah and scares her. And I'm like, oh, there he is. There's my little guy.
Yeah, a little puppet. Probably like some shit that like Tom Savini made, and like almost certainly Tom Savini's on the other end of that string. Like if I had to guess.
Yeah, maybe or fucking Nicotero.
Yeah, right, both of them on this film.
Yeah. And Nicotero is one of the plays one of the soldiers too, one of the not main ones, one of the ancillary ones. One of the ones who gets killed by the zombies when they're trying to corral a couple later, and the strap on the pole snaps and one of the zombies gets loose.
Yeah.
I think Nicotero might be the one who gets his throat bitten out, and then the other one shoots him in the head, which is a very cool effect. I'm guessing he probably got to apply his own makeup for that.
Yeah, there's so many great scenes in this movie, like those death sequences at the end with the soldiers that just come like one after another.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's the thing. Once things go bad, it's really just a showcase of awesome practicals.
Yeah.
And of course, I think my favorite by far is when the one soldier, like, it gets talked about a lot, but for good measure. Like, it's so cool. It's like when the first soldier gets ripped apart by zombies, like as his head comes off, you hear his vocal cords fry.
Yeah,
like,
the sound design there is really cool.
It's so terrifying. Like, and then of course we get like a panoply. We talked about our Dawn of the Dead episode. I think Ben brought it up then, but like you get like a panoply of like different career zombies. Like the zombies in this movie are always like all sorts of different types. I was looking for it really actively because of like our Dawn of the Dead episode. So I wanted to see if you guys like caught any fun ones. Mine were, I saw a ballerina zombie and a clown. Yeah,
I love the clown.
The clown's really good.
I caught the ballerina one too because it was walking around on its toe in the toe shoes.
Yeah, the toe shoes. Because again, like there's some semblance of something left in these zombies, much like with Bub, But it's these like hollow shells of people. So yeah. Any other good ones you guys catch? I'm trying to think.
The clown and the ballerina ones are the only ones that come to mind that I noticed. I did read that when they were casting zombie extras for this, Romero told the casting director to contact anybody who had played a zombie in Dawn of the Dead as well first, to give them basically first dibs to come back and be a zombie again, and a number of them did. So
cool. Yeah,
you'll if a really careful eye watching these movies back to back, you might spot some familiar looking zombies.
That
Which is
there was
cool.
one zombie that I swear looked exactly like Ron Jeremy, to the
Oh, I
point
didn't
that
see
I had to
him.
double check in the IMDb.
I was gonna say, like 85, it could have been him.
Yeah,
well, thank God it
Maybe
isn't.
uncredited.
it didn't end up being him, but it did
Damn.
look a lot like him.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like a lot of guys in the 80s looked like Ron Jeremy.
yeah,
though,
with those porn stashes.
Mhm.
One of the awesome other effects that I really loved is one of the soldiers gets bitten on the arm, and they end up amputating it with an axe.
Oh yeah, that's Miguel.
Yeah.
When he
Yeah.
he gets bit on the arm, and Sarah cuts his arm off with a machete to try to prevent the zombie infection.
And the cauterization of it, that whole bit is just so gnarly. I love the sound effects of it because it's so visceral.
We were
It's all
watching.
technically thought out, like them getting the gas cans, and you see her making the torch in real time to do it. Like it's really clever, and you always get a sense too that like you know that she's not doing it because he's her boyfriend. She's doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I like that they do they do make that pretty.
Well, Ben and I were joking when we watched this because he cuts his arm off before applying the tourniquet. Like John, it's like after she cuts his arm off, John runs over and tourniquets it. It's like, damn, bitch, you're the doctor, you're the scientist. You should know to apply the tourniquet before you cut his arm off.
Mm-hmm. But we do see at the very end of the scene that she's clearly in shock, like she's shaking and all the rest of it. I really like that like it's pretty apparent. Like, but she doesn't start shaking until after like she does manage to talk down Rhodes.
Yeah.
And the rest, and I really like that. And I love how Rhodes, like, you know, like total like cowboy mentality is just like, yeah, you know what? If he does turn into a zombie, you know, like we would be doing him a favor by killing him. So you know what? Fuck you. Yeah, let him turn into a zombie, and that's like his justification for leaving. And then of course later on too, when he's ripped apart, his whole like choke on it, you know, thing too. Is like dude, if Rhodes was like a military guy like today, absolutely Punisher everything. Like
yeah, full Punisher everything.
Total. He's like an absolute like misread on the Punisher guy. Like he is like that's him.
Well, yeah, I mean his death is sort of like the grand finale, the spectacular moment that we've all been waiting for, and I think it is probably like one of the most iconic deaths in horror movie history, I think. Well, before we get to that, I do love him being chased through the halls by Bub, who has gotten a hold of a pistol.
Fuck, dude, it's so good.
Just sort of like shambling around. Yeah, and he's just like shambling around. He like shoots Rhodes like in the leg, and like he just he like gets him a couple of times, and then like Rhodes runs through the door and he opens it, and all of the zombies are just there on the other side, and he does a great sort of like big like fucking.
Your mic cut you out, but I think it's actually funnier.
Yeah, well, thank you for the gating. But just like the big fucking like cartoon scream with all the hands coming through the door at him. And yeah, then they catch him and they pull him in half. And all of his guts spill out everywhere. And like, yeah, as they're dragging his legs away, he's just yelling, "Choke on him! Choke on him!" And then we get Bub fucking saluting him as he gets ripped apart. It's great, man. Just like that whole little sequence there at the end is just.
And you can see like in the GIF behind you, because like my eyes, it's I think the highest point of contrast on the screen. My eyes are just constantly drawn back to it, but like you can see like in his face there, the way like his jaw shifts left and right, like it really looks like every like thought in his brain is like trying to get his hand up into that salute. It's really cool, like seeing like how much is going on behind those seemingly dead eyes. Like what a great performance from.
It's a great performance, and I think that this movie overall has some of the like most consistently strong performances throughout of like any of the movies of the trilogy. Like all the movies have their highlights, of course, and I think they all have, you know, relatively good performances. But even in like Dawn of the Dead, you know, Ken Foree's kind of flat, you know, and it suits his character. It's what it needs to be. But I don't know. I just like think of everybody in this movie. Like fucking Rhodes is so good. Dr. Logan is so good. Bub is so fucking good. John and Bill are good. Sarah's really good.
She's amazing. Like she's such a believable like and earnest protagonist who really earns her spot at the top. You know, by the end, it's so nice to see like so many lovable characters like alongside just so many pieces of shit. Just really terrible folks.
And this movie does have the closest thing any of these films has to a happy ending.
I would say
like, yeah, I mean it's an uncertain ending, but you know, like they end up on their island, and we see like John and Bill off in the distance fishing, and like Sarah is she's writing up a new calendar and marking off another day. Fun little note is that the day she marks off is November 2nd, which is in Mexican culture Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, which is a fun little nod, I think. But like, yeah, I mean, compare it to the end of like Dawn of the Dead, where it's like the last couple of them like get away, but they're literally like, how much fuel do we have in the helicopter? Not much. Okay. It's like, yeah, where are they gonna go to? You know, it's like they're alive, but what awaits them? And then compare that even to how fucking bleak the ending of Night of the Living Dead is, where Ben just gets fucking shot in the head at the end after surviving all of that stuff just by some fucking yahoos who are out poaching zombies, you know, at the end.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this is like, in comparison to the other entries in this franchise, like this is a bona fide happy ending for these characters.
And I adore it because it's a perfect like bookend to the opening, where she starts out in her dream in that tiny little room, that box, just staring at the calendar, waiting for it all to end. Right. And she's awoken from her dream into the nightmare of reality. And the film ends with them all trying to get on the helicopter, and there's a zombie on the helicopter, and it's a jump scare again. And then it cuts to her. Am I getting this right? And then it cuts to them her, and she wakes up on the beach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, she's coming out of, like, the nightmare back into the pleasant dream of reality. And I love that, man. Like, and, too, it's such a great way to expedite, like, the sequences all the way up to the end. Because, like, you know, we have to make such a meal out of the climax. We got to see all these guys get ripped apart. And, like, it's so worth the runtime to then, like, have our protagonist, like, get to the helicopter and then just boom, like, cut to them, like, happy and pleasant on a beach. Like, it fits the pacing, it fits the tone. It's just fucking perfect. And again, all those like dreamy, like by today's definition, almost like mall wavy synths, you know, like over the top of it, are so gratifying and peaceful. And it's so earned by these protagonists who were just stuck in a terrible institution in this terrible system at the end of the world. Like literally, like basically doing like menial desk job work at the end of the world, and finally they get their unlimited PTO. They get to escape and just hang out on an island and just be at peace for, you know, the assumed end of humanity. And you know what? The responsibility shouldn't be on them. Fuck it, you know. Like if humanity ends, so be it. You know, like that's fine. And if it doesn't, cool, good for them. But like, well,
it's exactly
philosophically, I find it really, really gratifying.
It's exactly what John described in the scene earlier in the movie. Basically, is that like
in their fake tropical island,
right? Is like leaving the old world behind and starting something new. What that new thing is, Who knows? Will it be better than what came before? Also, who knows? But there is some kind of sense of relief in unburdening yourself from the baggage of the past and starting fresh. It's a relief, but it's also scary and it's also uncertain. So it's not just like
it feels like Romero most directly saying what he thinks is the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
rather than leave all of these approaches ambiguous, he's saying no, this is the right answer. And going back to the political thing, it's like, yeah, he's probably saying throw it all away and start over. We might as well
surrender to China. That's what living on a beach. That's what living on a beach is like.
Top of the year, things are uncertain. I just moved. I'm surrounded by boxes that I'm trying to get through. I think it's a really gratifying message to hear right now for me personally too. Like it, they just let go of the past, like move forward and keep fucking rolling. Oh
yeah, brother. The last thing I want to mention is there are a couple of fun little nods to Dawn of the Dead that I think are worth pointing out. There's a couple things to list off. At one point, one of the soldiers says something when they're sort of describing the situation. He says, all of the shopping malls are closed, so the zombies have nowhere to go now. Directly referencing the mall setting of Dawn of the Dead. There's a great moment where I think it's after it's in one of the scenes where Logan is training Bub or something, and he like, to sort of punish Bub for doing something bad, he like leaves him in the dark and he like walks away, and after he turns off the light switch, the music does the little melody of the sort of like goofy mall carnival music that plays over the credits in Dawn of the Dead. It's just like one bar of it.
Yeah.
But it's like instantly recognizable, and then several times in the movie, a character will call John Flyboy. Like Ken Foree calls the helicopter pilot over and over again throughout the course of Dawn of the Dead. I thought these are all nice, fun little nods to the previous film without feeling like eye rolling. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah, it's little homages. Yeah, again, also like in the
little
hands
homages to your own
music.
shit,
Yeah, exactly. I think he's earned it.
Absolutely. By this point, absolutely, dude.
Well, I love that for like essentially the third in a trilogy, the movies aren't terribly directly connected.
No.
I think a weaker director would have tried to tie them in more directly, but I like the restraint of just having subtle nods. Right?
Yeah, and like I was saying at the beginning, like the characters and the situations kind of like rhyme with stuff from the previous movies. But yeah, it always feels like it's doing something thematically unique and like very much being its own thing. And they all work perfectly as standalone films, which I think is an achievement. Like they work perfectly as a trilogy of connected films, but also like you can watch them out of order. You can discuss them out of order. We covered Dawn of the Dead first. Now we're covering this. At some point, presumably, we'll cover Night of the Living Dead. Like, we're all over the place. It's like, yeah, you don't necessarily need to. Like, having the context of the legacy is nice, and you can, like, notice the connections and the thematic through lines and stuff. But they all are totally fine as perfect, neat little self-contained films that all are doing their own thing, that all have their own things to say and their own fun things to try. And yeah, I mean, they really are a I think special achievement, all of these movies. Do you have anything else you want to hit specifically, or are we ready to rate this?
I'm pretty satisfied.
I'm ready to rate, yeah.
Yeah, I when I went to rate this on Letterboxd, I saw that the last time I watched this, I rated it 4 out of 5. And when I pulled that up in Letterboxd, I said, "You're fucking crazy. What are you talking about?" And I hit 5 and pressed save. And so you know this is a 5 out of 5 This is a perfect film, and yeah, again, any one of these is my favorite of the trilogy any given day of the week. And right now, after this conversation, after this rewatch, this is my favorite.
Yeah, I agree. This is my favorite too. Yeah, 5 out of 5. Easy. Go Bub. Bub forever.
Bub forever.
Bub forever. Well, obviously I'm also a 5. That'd be crazy. Like it's a perfect movie. I think it is the best. I think that of the films, it is the best one. It is the best made. It's the cleanest. It's the tightest. It like just as a piece of art, I think it's executed with the most artistry, and the most masterfully. I think Dawn of the Dead is still my personal favorite. But I need to go back and rewatch it. I haven't since I watched it for the first time for the podcast. So
the next time I watch Dawn of the Dead, it will be my favorite as well. And the next time I watch Night of the Living Dead, it will be my favorite also. So yeah, I actually have seen Dawn of the Dead pretty recently. I watched it around the Halloween season, and it's a banger. It's a banger.
Really good movie.
It's also a perfect film. So yeah, well, I mean, Day of the Dead, unanimous 5 out of 5, a golden pod, a well-deserved one. I'm pretty sure Dawn of the Dead was as well. Am I right? We all gave Dawn of the Dead 5 out of 5.
I hope so.
I'm fairly sure we did. If not, we should have. But yeah, Day of the Dead joins the hallowed halls of the Golden Pods, and thanks to Mitchell for choosing it for this week's episode for his Patreon pick. Indeed. And for giving us a chance to talk about it. I mean, it's one we've been overdue to talk about for years, so nice that our pod boys are looking out for us.
When you guys hit me up, I thought one of you had picked it for yours. I just assumed. So
no. Yeah. This is a Patreon pick. This is a Mitchell pick.
Mitchell.
Which, I mean, yeah, frankly unsurprising. Mitchell is our champion of of Giallo, and I think one of Mitchell's last picks was Zombie, the Fulci. So nice to get a slightly different flavor of Zombie. So
it's funny because Zombie was an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, yeah, it's true. It's true.
We didn't talk about that. I forgot.
That's why it was released in Italy as Zombie 2, because Dawn of the Dead was released in Italy as Zombie. Anywho, next week we're going back to the movies for new movies. Our first
movie.
Our first official,
not the company, but
2025 film, even though we're counting Nosferatu as a 2025. But our first film officially released in 2025. It's time for The Wolfman, Leigh Whannell's adaptation of the classic Universal monster movie. I mean, the trailers look promising. Leigh Whannell has been on a pretty hot streak the last few years. I think Upgrade bangs, and we were all very, very pleasantly surprised by how good his Invisible Man adaptation was. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm going into this one pretty hopeful. Maybe it's disappointing.
A full revival of the dark cinematic universe.
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of are, I guess. Just let's let Leigh Whannell do all of them, and Universal and Johnny Depp can stay as far away from them as possible.
Try to stay as far away from me as possible too, while they're at it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, tune back next week to hear our review of the new Wolfman film. Until then, if you like the show, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and a review wherever you're listening to this. Share an episode, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Join our Patreon if you want to give us a few bucks every month. Like we've been still in, we're recording video now. So if you sign up to any tier of our Patreon, any of the 3 tiers, you get access to the unedited raw video of every episode, so you can look at our faces and stuff while we talk and see the silly gifs that we have behind us in the Discord.
And in addition,
And-
you can see.
Or are you getting the pig? Oh, there she
Oh,
is.
You can see
Let's
the baby.
go.
Cam.
You can see
Let's
the little
go.
baby. You can see the little baby. So,
Certified pig cam. Let's go.
certified
She's-
pig.
It's funny
There you
because
go.
she's flickering in and out of your background gif, which is
Zombie
Rhodes being torn in half. So it's just like pig guts, pig guts, pig guts, which is funny because they
The
did
sacred
use
and the profane, you know?
well, and they did, and Tom Savini did use real pig guts for all of those scenes where zombies rip somebody's guts out. So
Stay away from my pig. That's what I say.
it's like, yeah, it's like poetry. It rhymes. So yeah, join the Patreon is what we're saying. Patreon.com/podpeoplepod. Shout out as always to our lovely honorary pod boys, the highest tier, Sam, Zach, Micah, and Mitchell. Special shout out again to Mitchell for curating this episode for us. And on the subject of, well, first, you can also follow us at letterboxd.com/podpeoplepod or just the app Letterboxd. Who even uses the website anymore, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. You can also see our full list of unanimous 5 out of 5 golden pods on there. It's fun. But for recommendations, continuing to shout out the boy Mitchell, I'm going to recommend something that I know Mitchell likes and will appreciate. And I'm going to recommend an album. You should all go and listen to the 1992 album Horror of the Zombies by Bloomington, Indiana death metal band Impetigo. I know Mitchell really likes this album, and as Mitchell also agrees, it is very good for exercising, especially lifting weights. If you want some loud, fucking ignorant, dumb, zombie-themed music to go get swole to.
Like,
Oh
really,
yeah, like real serious,
console.
serious caveman riffs, like big, dumb, loud, heavy shit. Horror of the Zombies by Impetigo. Go listen. Shout out Mitchell.
Well, my recommendation is gonna be for the movie, one of the movies we watched in movie night last night, as of recording this at least. Again, for Patreon members, if you join, you can be part of our movie nights, which are very fun. But we watched
For
a movie
$5 a
called
month, you'll get into the Discord.
Yeah, we watched a movie called Monkey Shines, and it is a ton of fun.
It was fucking awesome.
right?
We were talking about it on our predictions episode. Cleve, you were telling us about it, and I was very sold then. And we finally got around to watching it last night, and I was not fucking disappointed.
No.
Holy shit!
I'm so glad. You've now seen Monkey Shines. Like,
Oh,
it's,
yeah,
it's
dude.
a special movie, dude. And it's crazy to me how little it's talked about in horror circles, because like
It really
an
is.
amazing film. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. No, I can definitely second that recommendation.
Well,
Monkey
that
Shines
was-
fucking whips.
Yeah, I mean, I can second it to the point where it was gonna be mine. So instead, I'll recommend an album that I also really liked this year. Tease turned me onto it. It's Departure Chandelier's "Satan, Soldier of Fortune," which is a very romantic black metal album about. Stop me from getting anything wrong here, but about specifically how Napoleon was considered the Antichrist by the Church of England as well as the Russian Orthodox Church, and essentially sort of an imagining over the reality of that. And so it's a lot of lyrics about Napoleonic warfare and also being Satan, and it's extremely cool.
Yeah, it's not
It's
even
like a history fan. Like I love this shit, dude. I eat it up.
it's not even just that album. That's just their whole thing. Like
Right,
that's
Satan's Rise to Power is their previous one, and
Antichrist Rise to Power.
Antichrist
is,
Rise to Power,
the
right,
previous one. Yeah,
and it's also really good. I was looking at that the other day.
It is. It's all very good. Yeah, I think I recommended that one in one of our end of the year episodes because Ben was like, "What's your favorite album of the year?" It's like, that one. And,
Dominic
yeah.
Benro, man, he did Pruria and he did Departure Chandelier and
a Vatican Shadow and a bunch of other fucking shit. He's not, in fairness, he's not like the main guy behind Departure Chandelier, but he is in the band. So, Yeah, well, lots of good shit to check out. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. We hope you enjoyed the discussion of Day of the Dead, and we hope you're looking forward to our review of The Wolfman next week. And until then, stay on island time, man. Bing Chilang.